Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the.
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I gotta give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
You're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go and roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves.
What up? What up? What up, world? We are back. This is good old classic Mike here with none other than my good friend right here, good old Tycoon. Rasta's in the process of getting in here. We've had some technical difficulties this starting back up. So thank you for being here. Tycoon, how you been, man? It's been a while. I really enjoy having you back.
It has been a minute. Doing well. Just excited to get kind of back in the full throes of football again, Excited to see you.
Sure.
Excited to be back, with Get Right launching again for the season, the off season, the whatever part of the point we're in.
Yes, sir.
I'm just excited.
Yeah, we had the first day of the draft yesterday. We have the second and the third round going today. We're still in the middle of it, right near the end. So we're going to, get our takes in a few minutes, as we go through the draft, as we go through the picks. Tonight, we are doing a startup Superflex Dynasty, or let me try that again. Superflex Dynasty startup draft, but we're going to be doing a mock, of course, for our good old Friday night mocks. So make sure you guys are checking us out every Friday night. We're going to be here doing a mock of some sort. We're going to try to get as much as possible. So let's get this thing started. Ross is going to get us started on his end. There he is as he pops in.
Hey!
He's been having some technical difficulties, and of course, his mic
is not. Is it working or no?
Yes.
If not, I'm out of here.
You're good.
Are you kidding me?
No, you're good, brother.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
There we
Yes.
go.
Let's go. Maybe we just had to be live for it to work. Maybe that's all was going on. What's up, fellas? Oh, I'm so happy I could be in this now. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Me too, my friend. So I'm going to bring up the mock board for you guys right now. We have everyone in the chat. They are anxiously awaiting to get this thing started. So Ross is going to get us all set up and ready to go. I got everybody going in just a second. There we go. We're on a shorter clock, so just be aware of that. It actually really cut him short. I don't understand why.
I did 1 minute picks.
Yeah, I know, but it only gave him like 30 seconds.
It counted down for a minute from me.
Hold on, let me.
We're good. Yeah, he's good.
On your screen,
I have 10 seconds.
It looks different on the.
I have 10
mine says
seconds.
53.
Yeah.
What? That's super weird.
Yeah, and now mine's at like 12 seconds. Yeah, we might have to stop for a sec. So pause it for
Why is
real.
yours different from mine?
No, I think it's fine. I think it's just your thing. So what we're gonna do, we'll do this. We got it. But anyway, we'll get this swapped out.
No, I'm being serious, man, because it popped up real quick and it's at 6 seconds.
There we go. No, there we go.
Oh, that's weird.
We're good now?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Look at his.
Oh wow.
We're all good. So them boys on the clock. Let's do it. So I just want to start off, man. What are you guys thinking here? Just what are your initial thoughts on the draft so far? Like, what are you guys thinking? Like, what was the craziest thing you guys saw? I'm sure we're all in agreement, probably on the same thing, right?
It's definitely Penix being drafted.
Yeah, Penix is by far the wildest thing I've ever seen.
What's going on there? Tell me about it, guys. What do you think on that?
I honestly have no idea. I know that they're looking to have a bridge quarterback, and then bring in their successor. But at the end of the day, it's such a reach. He was not projected for the top 10. I mean, some people were looking for him to be in that group and maybe might have taken him, but they don't need him. They had so many other needs that they needed to fulfill, and they reached for him, or they didn't even trade out. I didn't like the pick. I felt like they could have done a lot more.
Right. I mean, it's unfathomable to me to guarantee $100 million to a quarterback. So you're locked in for at least 2 years before you can realistically get out of that.
I was going to say, right, at least 2 years with Cousins.
Rookie, who's already 24, so he's going to be 26 by the time he sees the field. Like, that's
at
just
least
outrageous. Yeah, at least. And when you're spending that kind of money guaranteed on a quarterback, you would think you would do everything to win in the here and now, maximize this year today.
Yeah, and I feel like they've done that with Kirk Cousins coming in and taking over. What? Love going early
in the real draft. Luke McCaffrey was just drafted at 100 overall.
That's early, huh?
Commanders.
I don't know about
Troy Franklin.
Yeah, I don't know if that's early, but yeah, above Troy Franklin. I'm surprised Troy Franklin is dropping as far as he has. I mean, he was somebody that was supposed to be really high. I would say end of the second was my thought, but I mean, he has fallen from grace here. It's very odd. Yeah. Hey, I mean, whatever team takes him, I mean, good for them. I mean, that's all I can really say. I love Troy Franklin. I think he has a really, bright future in the NFL if, when and if he gets on a team. It's very shocking to me that he isn't there yet. I wanted him paired up with Bo Nix. Like my whole thing, maybe Denver tries, but I think Denver done. I think Denver's done with picks or something like that, or at least done for tonight.
Did they have that few? Yeah, I guess that would make sense actually.
I think they were done tonight. I have to double check my work. But overall, I mean, I liked Troy Franklin, so it's a little shocking that he's not there, or that he's still there. So, and I'm all screwed up in my head right now because the timers are all off on mine, and I'm all like, I got 10 seconds. Oh.
Okay, I'll let you know. I think you're good.
I'm good.
It seems fine here on our side, so hopefully we're good. So let's take care of a little bit of housekeeping, and then let's recap these 2 rounds here. So just so you guys know, anyone who's catching us new here on Get Right Fantasy Network, again, welcome. Hopefully hit that like and subscribe button for us. Help us grow. We hit 1,000 subscribers last season, so we're real excited about that. So again, thank you everybody out there who helped us get there. And those of you guys who are checking us out new, again, hit that subscribe button and check us out here throughout the season. We'll be doing these Friday night mocks. We have our big mock draft tournament that will be starting July 29th. So make sure you guys go in and make sure you guys become part of our sleeper channel. That's where we post a lot of our stuff. We'll post it on our X as well too, or Twitter, to get into that tournament. But it's a fun thing that we do just to get through those last 4 weeks leading up to the start of the season. We give out cash prizes and things like that. So make sure you guys tune in for more info as we get closer. And then as we get into the season on Mondays, we do our overreaction and waiver wire show. And then Wednesdays, we do roster management, buy, sell, trade targets. On Fridays, we do our game by game start sit show. And of course, all live shows will be taking live Q&A. And then Classic here does his Sunday morning active inactives, giving you those last minute start sit advice to get your lineups right before kickoff. So make sure you guys tune in to us. Again, we're here 4 nights a week when this season gets going. And then with these Friday night mocks that we do here, we do them here on Friday night. We'll kind of give you a little bit of feedback towards the end of the show. But you'll want to tune in on Monday night where we actually will go break down the teams, give our letter grades. Frank and I will be in here and we'll give you guys the feedback more so on roster construction, things like that. And just kind of make it, tailored towards that side of it, that side of things. So it's a lot of fun to get that feedback, on our insight on how we would build teams, whether it's, here in Dynasty or for Redraft as we get, closer to the start of the season. So again, make sure you guys tune in, hit that subscribe button for us. And you could bring home a ring like this from our boys over at trophysmack.com. So make sure you guys check that out. You guys want to get those going. So let's do it. I got to. This is where we gotta flex it out. So hopefully you guys will see all these fingers with the rings here as we continue to move on. So make sure you guys go check out trophysmack.com. Use that promo code GetRight when you check out. We have a link down in the description. Help support the channel. And make sure you guys get a ring, a belt, trophy, something for your league, man, to play for in addition to whatever cash prizes you have going on. So let's get into this draft, man. So again, we're doing a startup, Dynasty startup, Superflex. I'm not in this one. I gave up my spot here, so I wanted to get you guys in.
You set it up. Is it full?
Full PPR, basically is how we're going on this. And so, we expect that most likely to be, quarterback and wide receiver heavy, in this one here. So let's just check out kind of the first round here and kind of see where we're at, as far as kind of rankings, here. So we had a big QB run to start it off. We went Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Anthony Richardson, 1 through 7. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, obviously you both were part of that classic, going Stroud at the 103 and then Tycoon with Burrow at the 105. Any surprises in those top 7 quarterbacks going off the board?
Probably my pick. I mean, I right now Stroud is going at that 3-4 area. It's basically how you feel. I mean, Hurts you can make an argument for Hurts, but honestly, I'm not as high on him as I am on others. But yeah, I really like Stroud at that spot. I mean, I'm preparing for a long future with, a good young quarterback, and he's successful. He did very well last year, and I want to ride that, ride the wave right now. I like basically, I love the 2 teams that I've already gone with Gibbs and Stroud. I love being attached to those particular offenses. But they're also both very young, and that's what I'm aiming for, is a good young team with a little bit of, vets in there. That's, what I like to have. What about you, Tycoon?
The only thing that really surprised me, I think Richardson at 107, I wasn't quite expecting.
That's where I was
guess
kind
I
of
can
going.
understand having him as your QB7 for some, but gosh, I guess I just didn't expect to go 7 straight QBs off the board. The top 6, I feel like, is pretty chalky.
Yeah. And in whatever order you feel is what is, I mean, honestly, there's no real,
Allen and Mahomes are going to be the 101 and 102 in whatever order. Stroud is I feel like it's virtually consensus at this point at 103.
I was going to say, I don't think that's bad at all. Yeah. I would even argue he could be 102. And I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if someone took him 101 in a Dynasty startup, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I get real, if I'm in this 5, the 3 to 5 area and he's there, I'm picking him. I like him better than most of the other guys. Lamar is very talented. He's going to be there for a minute, but at the end of the day, there goes the guy that I was hoping that would bring back around. But at the end of the day, I still feel a little bit better about Stroud. They're building around him to make him better. They're not trying to, Lamar, I don't see the same. But that's just me.
No. And I like this question here by Dim Boy. Shout out to Dim Boys, man, our OG. He was with us the very first Friday night mocks ever in Get Right Fantasy history, basically. Our very first subscriber that wasn't like friends or family. So again, big shout out to our guy starting us off here in 2024. So again, appreciate him being here. Almost missed it, actually. I was the one who gave him up his spot, but of course I'll do it for an OG like that. So again, we appreciate you, Dim Boys, for being in here. But this is actually one of the questions that I had ready for you guys as well. I'm sure we were going to get to it, but let's let's get to it. We were talking about it kind of offline. I heard you guys while I was having my mic issues. But yeah, so let's dive into it. What do you guys think about Kyron now that Rams drafted a running back, and that's Corum, right?
Yeah,
Corum indeed.
Yeah, I mean,
hope if you had him, you sold him already in Dynasty. That's what
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. I mean, honestly, I think that he's gonna eat into Kyron, a little bit. I think he's gonna be very heavy, at least the 50-50 split. Not maybe in the beginning. I think it will probably work itself out more towards the middle of the season, but it will definitely eat into his particular, production. So I think it's a big deal overall.
Yeah. And for me, I think because of the time that that Kyron missed, last year, I think it is, a good signing. In this division, you need to be able to run the ball. It's a tough division, and I'm not just saying that because the hat I'm wearing here. But you're gonna have to play that ball control. You're gonna have to have a nice running game. So for them to be able to shore up that position, obviously Kyron was a big part of what they did last year. Basically a league winner in fantasy last year if you did get him. It was tough missing him for what I think he missed a total of about 6 weeks there, I think overall. But he came back and basically kind of picked up pretty much where he left off. It was tough to see it. You didn't kind of want to see it. Kind of reminded me of maybe not as bad, but the Walker and Charbonnet, and then Bigsby and ETN. Even though I know Tycoon and I weren't worried about Bigsby at all when everyone else was kind of freaking out last year, we were like, nah, we're good. But I think the Walker thing, the Walker Sharps backfield is it could maybe resemble that more. Obviously, again in that same division, so you can see what they're doing there. Obviously, you got to compete with CMC at least for another year, maybe 2. We'll see what happens, but again, you're going to have that strong running game in that NFC West. So again, we went to 1 through 7, and again, our boy Santos here. Shout out to Santos. He's new here to Get Right Fantasy Network. He has his own show going on YouTube. Make sure you drop that link in the chat there, and we can get some folks over to him. And we're talking. Maybe he might come on board with us here at Get Right Fantasy. So we're in the works. So I think he's kind of checking us out here tonight, and we'll see what happens. But again, big shout out to everybody that's in here with us. And that Anthony Richardson pick is a little interesting. But obviously, we saw what he did in the few games that he was available. You can tell he's the top option. So obviously, he's betting on the fact that he'll be able to stay healthy. Maybe it's a little bit of a fluke. And obviously with that injury, maybe he'll be a little, not more reserved, but just kind of be more aware and understand, how to slide, not take those big hits that can, because he was dealing with shoulders and everything else. So it's just, so it's pretty tough. So, but I mean, the upside is there. Yeah.
It's just a matter of how much you believe, and he believes.
Exactly. So
honestly, I think the only thing that concerns me with him is what we just discussed is the injury history. He's a very what's the word? He's very Cam Newton-esque, if you will.
Right.
In the context that he doesn't avoid contact, he actually seeks it to move forward. So for me, as much as I do like the kid, I thought he did very well last season. I actually traded him out for CJ Stroud, even though I had the opportunity to draft Stroud. I don't feel comfortable with him moving forward because of that. I hope they kind of bring him back a little bit and be, a little bit more conservative, if you will. And, hey, if you want to run, great. Just make sure you're, doing
protect yourself.
Protect yourself.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
So
let's try to fit. Now we're like 3 rounds more ahead before we got through the first 7 picks. But
we're running. We're doing good.
It's like our first time to talk about this stuff. It's been our chest for a while. It's the first episode, so I know I'm gonna have blabbermouth going here, especially if I'm not drafted. So I'm just like diving all into this. So I think what comes up next is the trio of kind of wide receivers here.
Yeah.
You go Jefferson, Lamb, and Chase. You guys interested to see Jefferson go first over CeeDee Lamb? He's kind of been the consensus wide receiver 1 being drafted this offseason so far, whether it's Dynasty or redraft mocks that I've been a part of. But now, of course, with JJ McCarthy being drafted over to Minnesota, do you think that's enough to pump Jefferson ahead, considering what he did with someone like Nick Mullins last year, still basically producing as a top-end wide receiver 1? What are kind of your thoughts there on Jefferson and McCarthy? I think that's a nice little – I'd like you guys' takes on that.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing with JJ was going to be the quarterback. I mean, who was going to be there? Who was going to be the one passing him the ball? If it's Sam Darnold, then that's one thing. If it was a rookie, that's another. And honestly, I don't think it's going to affect his production at all. I just think, honestly, it could. It at this point, I think it could only help JJ more. I think it helps. Well, let me. I think it helps McCarthy more than it helps Jefferson. But at the end of the day, Jefferson's going to be just fine moving forward. But yeah, I mean, them boys just said it, clear. His hot take is I have JJ as my wide receiver 5. That's a little low or a little lower for me. But at the end of the day, I get it. I understand the reason why behind it. Lamb, I definitely still think is more the wide receiver 1.
There you go.
Yeah,
And what about you, Tycoon?
For me, Jefferson never lost his spot at wide receiver 1. I would have never and still wouldn't take Lamb over Jefferson. I don't care who's throwing the ball. I don't care if I'm throwing him the ball.
Right?
Jefferson is my wide receiver 1. Some guys are just quarterback proof. He's one of them.
Okay.
There you go.
I never had a single concern. There's not really much to elaborate on. Like you said, saw what he did with Nick Mullins. If it was going to be Sam Darnold, who basically is Nick Mullins, he would have been fine. No problems.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So then to round out round 1, you get Jordan Love and Justin Herbert. I'm sure we all remember Justin Herbert was kind of like QB 3-4 in Dynasty just 1-2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously loses Keenan Allen, loses Mike Williams. So what are your guys' thoughts there on Love and Herbert, and do you think that's the right order there?
I do. Short answer is I do. I think Love is definitely a better option there. We saw what he could do. I was proven wrong. I was very low on him last season. So for him to do what he did, and we hope to see him continue. I hope he does well. I'm a big Herbert fan. Let's just be clear. Like, I'm a big fan of Herbert. It's hard to see what they're going to do in LA. It's tough. New coach, new system. We'll see.
Yep, and obviously Harbaugh being there, you think run first when you go that direction. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We got Ray in the house saying, "Well, what do we have here? We're back, Ray. We're back, man."
What up?
He's saying good picks for your Giants, man.
So far,
so let's talk about that real quick. We'll talk about it when we see him come off the board. He might have already, but we'll talk about it when we get there, because I think that's an interesting conversation. Ethan saying, you say one mean word about Herbert and I riot. He's like, that's my boy. I agree, man. Everyone was kind of down on him last year. He was my main QB. He helped me get those 2 belts that I'm looking at right over there, as well as this ring here. So him and Keenan Allen, I draft all about value. Like, if I can find value in places, that's what I like to do. So to me, I can't thank Herbert and Keenan Allen enough for bringing me home 3 championships last year. So I do appreciate that. Even though Ray's saying he'd rather draft Herbert from the Family Guy.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with Mike, though. I would still take Herbert in front of Love. In terms of long term, I still very much believe in Herbert so much more than I do Love. And in fact, I'd take Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy over Love, and probably Caleb Williams over Love. I think that was I have a big disagreement with Wilson's position on that.
Okay, there we go. Let's talk about it. There we go.
Not good, but I just like the other guys. But I don't know. We've already, with the exception of Caleb Williams, we've already seen more from all of them.
Mm-hmm.
More long-term consistent success. And I mean, 2 years for Purdy is not necessarily long-term, but I mean, it's longer than the half of a good, or 3/4 of a good season Love had. I mean, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he did have a lull there for a while, and then, did kind of come back and finish strong. And that was, with a rookie wide receiver
he gets to
group.
Grow with his receivers is a plus.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm still optimistic on Love and still think he is very worthy around that turn. But if we're going to get nitpicky about the order here, even though probably for 2024, I would take Love over Herbert in redraft. It's hard to get too excited about Herbert with the lack of weapons and going into a Greg Roman offense with a lack of weapons. Well, I take that back. They did draft Lad McConkey. They now have weapons or a weapon.
They have
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. So that rounds out round one. Then we fall into round two here. We have four quarterbacks total go in this round. Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, and then at the 212, Trevor Lawrence. So let's just talk quarterbacks there. You guys think that's a pretty decent order for those guys? I think I probably have Caleb ahead of Murray and Purdy, just in my opinion, just for that potential, that asset. We'll see what actually happens. But what do you guys think? You think that's a good order for the next 4 QBs that come off the board? Let's go with you, Classic. Or who's picking?
I was picking.
Okay. Tycoon's coming up. All right, so go ahead, Classic. You go.
So first I wanted to bring up what Ethan said. I mean, he said, he first said that, so Chargers fans, this is my thoughts about Herbert as Dynasty asset. It's always going to be a bit of a teardown, contracts, aging, personnel, of course. So the next year might be a bit rough fantasy wise, but looking at the Dynasty, landscape, there's going to be, they're going to just keep building and adding weapons over time. I agree. It's one of those things. I guess it's more of my mind of thinking into next year that it might be, but at the end of the day, I've always liked Herbert. So I'm good with either one of those guys at that spot. So they're very close in my rankings either way when I start looking at everybody. Overall, if you're talking about for the QBs for the next round, I think that's pretty much what I would have as well. Murray, Purdy, and Williams. I think that's pretty much what I would do as well. And
has Lawrence really fallen that far in the Dynasty realm now? I mean, with what we've seen so far?
I'm surprised he got drafted in the second round. Not gonna lie.
Really, man.
I've seen him
falling that far from the tree, huh?
Yeah,
I tell you, I would have taken him there in my spot in the third if he was still there, though. But that's probably about as high as it'd go currently.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was hoping Goff made it around, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's already climbing up boards. So yeah, I mean,
I definitely think that the teardrop is there, though. Like basically in Dynasty, like after Trevor Lawrence, now you're really looking at position players, most likely wide receivers. I would assume at that point. Of course, we saw a bunch of wide receivers and a couple running backs. The top 3 running backs come off the board in this round as well too. So let's kind of get into that. We had the 4 wide receivers that came off the board: Amon-Ra St. Brown, MHJ Marvin Harrison Jr. We have Arthur Juan and Puka Nacua as your wide receiver 7 coming off the board here in this mock. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, pretty much that spot cemented there. He's a nice hot commodity at this point, whether it's Dynasty or redraft. And then we see Marvin Harrison go here to Santos, and then Arthur Juan Nacua. Let's go with Tycoon here first. What do you think about that order there and those wide receivers?
The order of the second round receivers, I'm okay with.
Okay.
I'm definitely okay with. I would probably have them. I don't know. I have an unhealthy obsession with Arthur Juan, so I might still take him above Harrison. But I would not fault anybody for taking Harrison above him. Puka at 211. I mean, I understand the excitement, and I love Puka as well. Shoot, I'm a BYU fan. I love Puka. But that is very rich for me. That just... I don't have him inside my top 10, so wide receiver 7 for me is very, very high.
Very high. Okay, see, I like that. What about you, Classic? What do you think about this order here?
No, I mean, it's definitely the order. I have probably St. Brown a little bit higher than I have St. Brown probably in the top 4 for Dynasty, and then
that's where he is 4.
Yeah, I've seen St. Brown go ahead at Jefferson in a redraft mock so far, but I don't know if that's people getting a little cute. But
no, I thought about it. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, he's younger. He's got a good system around him, good team around him. But beyond that, I mean, Puka going where he did, I don't hate it. If he made it to me at 3 in the third round, I probably would have gone Puka. I normally, I just did a dynasty startup recently with the group, and I was the 4th pick, and Wilson made it back to me in the third. Or well, actually, no, I took him in the second, but I was kind of hoping he made it back to me in the third. It would have been nice, but I'm good where I am.
I think you went Brees, and then you get both Brees and Wilson.
No,
in that one? Or you were deciding between the two, right?
Yeah, I was. The second pick was between Brees and Garrett Wilson, and yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of running backs here, let's get into the running backs. So we have the RB1 in Dynasty in this mock off the board, Mr. Bijan Robinson. Obviously getting away from Arthur Smith, so maybe that there's that potential here that he could go out there and be that RB1 this year. He got CMC, who's basically the fantasy player number 1. That's our guy right there. You got Brees Hall and then Jahmyr Gibbs going off the board here. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the second. Let's go with Classic since Tycoon's kind of coming up here on a pick. What do you think about those 4 running backs? Do you think that's the right order for Dynasty? And yeah, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, for now, it should be Bijan, Hall, CMC, Gibbs. Might be more the better order for me, just because of McCaffrey's age. Not saying anything more than that. He's very dynamic and can play well.
At least we got that whole injury prone thing out of your mouth now, so we're good.
You did. Hey, come on. I drafted him in a few leagues. I have him in best ball. Shut up. Anyway.
Welcome to the CMC show, Classic. Yeah, I think I agree too. I'd probably put him on the back end of that as well, honestly. I'd probably take those 3 running backs ahead just because of the age. Obviously, in Dynasty Startup, I'm pretty much pushing running back kind of towards the end, not necessarily like a 0 RB build, but you try to just build up those wide receiver and quarterback assets in a Dynasty startup. We'll get into more of like the construction and stuff like that when we do the breakdown on Monday's show. But yeah, for me, I'm most likely just personally not taking a running back with my second pick in a Dynasty Superflex startup. So I kind of just want to get your guys' quick thought on that. Would you take a running back this early when you're, just again, second round Dynasty startup, maybe not quite sure exactly if you're win now, first year struggle, are you committing a second round pick to the running back position? Go ahead, Tycoon.
I would like to refer to the draft board for your answer.
Oh, okay. Well, you did. Okay. Well, actually, both you guys did. So I guess you guys are. So I guess I stand alone on that one.
Hold on.
So tell me your thoughts on that.
Let Mike go, and then I'll.
No, let's be clear. The only reason why I went running back for this particular type of format is because it's 2 wide receiver. If it was 3 wide receiver, I would have went a whole different route.
Makes sense.
So for me, and I don't know if it was tight end premium or not. I don't know.
No.
We didn't have that conversation with it, so I wasn't sure. But either way, for me, it was one of those guys where I'm like, oh, I get a young running back that had a really productive year. Why not go for him? And then I can go grab somebody a little bit later. Now,
especially kind of you're on that turn as well too, so it does make that decision a little easier. You could still get a quality wide receiver there if you wanted to, but you did go a second running back, even committed the 2 picks in Dynasty to running back. So tell me about that.
Like at that point, I saw an opportunity to take a leg up on running back, and then fill out my roster a little bit later. With this particular draft that just happened, or is in the process of happening, there is so much going on where there are so many options, and it's so deep that you can pretty much go with the wide receiver a little bit later because there's so much depth. There's not that much at running back, and I rather I got sniped over in the 7th round for James Cook. I was hoping James Cook made that turn with Kuda. And made it over to me. So then I would have been real happy with that. And it would have been what I was more looking for. But I don't, I understand what other people are doing as well. We have Epps all the way at the end that is doing more of a,
that looks like my kind of build over there.
Exactly. and to be honest, I looked back and I'm like, oh, I'm really high on Drake London. I really wanted him to be my I was hoping he made it around. Of course, that's not going to happen here. And what ended up
trying to get that double stack with Diggs and London
no,
there.
I wasn't even looking to do that. I was really just
okay.
I always aim for Goff and Cousins regardless. I like them as the QB2 for my team for a lot of things, just because they are solid options. They are just consistent. They always do what you want them to. They never let you down. So for me, I was just like, okay, why not try to go for Drake, Drake London if he came back, but unfortunately he never did.
He didn't. And one thing I just want to add on that, Tycoon, before I let you explain your second round RB pick there. Obviously, once you win Gibbs, that kind of leans you towards, kind of win now, I would say. You're kind of saying, okay, I'm putting my running backs in place, because to me in a dynasty build, running back is kind of that last piece that you put in there when you're trying to compete, just because they have the shortest shelf life there. Again, for those that are newer to Dynasty startups, we want to get that out there, not just assuming everyone that's watching here is been playing Dynasty for years. And obviously, then you kind of double down on that when you get that second RB2. Then basically now what that does, though, is it allows you to set your course and say, okay, now I can go kind of for these older, kind of top tier, top talent type guys. Maybe they only have like 2-3 years left. That's kind of what you did, Cousins, Diggs, Harris, Johnson, and Hollywood Brown. You're just like, okay, those guys are going to be available later because everyone's going to be thinking young. So you're trying to zag while everyone's kind of trying to zig, so to speak. So obviously, kind of sets you in that realm there. So Tycoon, let's start with you here. Running back with that second pick. What are your thoughts there?
Well, a lot of similarities to what Mike said.
He's
but
not wrong.
The primary one being that position scarcity, at least at the top. In Dynasty, to me, tier 1 is the 4 names that went in the second round hard stop. It's a very, very small tier 1. There's kind of like a tier 2.5 of Jonathan Taylor and Travis Etienne, and then there's just a massive
then it drops off
tier from there. I mean, there's plenty of good players in the league, don't get me wrong, but I mean, from a dynasty value perspective, nobody else can you even consider remotely close to any kind of a building block like you can with the top 4, and to a lesser degree, number 5 and 6. So having the chance to get him there with 2 of the 4 already gone, knowing neither would make their way back, and not wanting to totally go 0 RB here in this build. I did want to have, not necessarily fully go win now, although it's kind of the way my roster is taking shape. I wanted to have a fighting chance. I wasn't punting year 1 by any stretch. So
right.
That
and
I always fight to win every year. There's no waiting a year. There's no.
Yeah, I mean, no. I've done it. So I've done that first year productive struggle just to try it, and it's fun to kind of do it that way. Just build up some assets. But again, I think understanding what you're trying to do, and kind of after you get out of those like first 2-3 rounds and kind of seeing how the mock is kind of taken place, and again, you got to be got to be fluid in these drafts. So you got to kind of read the board, read the 11 other guys that you're with. And then you just have to decide what you're going to do. The last thing you want to do is not be kind of sure, once you kind of start getting into these middle rounds, because that's where you can completely screw yourself. So you just have to decide on what you're going to do and then stick to it. So again, another thing that we're not quite doing here, which a lot of, dynasty startups allow, is trading during the draft. That does happen a lot too. So, you have opportunities. Okay, if you're in a win now mode, maybe you can trade that, pick, let someone else move up, get that younger guy. And then, you can pick up a couple more, picks later to be able to build out, that depth if you're in a win now, type build. So always keep that in mind as well. So let's kind of get into round 3 here, since we're already finishing up round 10 in the actual mock itself. I do want to spend a little bit of time on this. Malik Neighbors starts off as the 301, first pick here in the 3rd round, going to your New York Giants Classic. So let's get your first thoughts here on camera. What do you think about the pick here? And do you think they should have went, something different, or are you happy they're trying to put weapons around Daniel Jones?
Pick overall, I was very happy about. I was aiming for them to get a wide receiver over a quarterback. I hated the concept that they were looking to trade up to get, Drake May or JJ McCarthy. Honestly, it's just not worth it at this point. There's no point in them trying to reach for a quarterback when they have somebody that they're going to be paying for at least this year that we know of. So what's the point of overpaying to go get a guy like him? And I wasn't a fan of it. I was very, disappointed that they were thinking about it. So for me, I just didn't like seeing that. But at the end of the day, Nabers is a excellent wide receiver. I think he can do very well moving forward. I hate the comparisons to OBJ and, just because they came from LSU and all that stuff. They are two different receivers, and but he can play anywhere. And I do like that concept. I like that he's not just he can be an X receiver, but he can pretty much fill in any void if needed. So I do like that about him. I did have Romeo Odunze. I liked him a little bit better, in my opinion.
You were saying that, yeah.
I honestly, it was
a little more ready now. They were saying, right? Possibly.
That too. He was his athletic ability, his just route tree, everything about him. The one thing that I know this is silly, but the one thing that I liked about him the most at the combine, he was there after everyone left doing 3-cone drills, and and from what I keep seeing,
kept knocking over the cone.
But I kept seeing his personality and the way he was just he's just a good character player. And for me, I thought he would be a better fit for this team, for the Giants. But at the end of the day, Nabers is not a horrible pick. I do like him a lot. I do think he can come and do well. I think that he's coming across as a little bit of a diva. In my mind, he's just very smug, and I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Need that swag a little bit, classic.
A little bit, but he thinks right now he's that Jefferson guy, and that's great. But you're
a lot of good receivers come from LSU though recently, so
I see that. But
should be a little excited.
I want my receivers to act like that.
That's what I mean. You need to, right? They need to have that edge.
Not a cocky son of a gun. I'm not kind of pushing diva unless they're, there's a lot more like that than there were Larry Fitzgerald. Let's say.
I understand.
Right.
So give me those guys.
Fair enough.
T.O., Randy Moss, these guys. Come on,
right. They got that swag for a reason.
Yeah, and
fair enough.
Full ego.
And honestly, I do think that, and I agree with Ethan. Nabers was exactly who the Giants needed. It wasn't going to be a quarterback this year, so go and inject some of that life into the offense. I agree. Duke and ball. And like I said, I have nothing against him. I thought he was top 3, of course. He was that. We definitely weren't getting Marvin Harrison, and I did like him, overall. But for some reason, I liked all those other little things about, Odunze comparatively to Nabers. And I think that he does have a bright future. I hope they can, make it work. Wan'Dale Robinson coming in, he's looking like he'll be fine. And Hyatt on the outside, I think they can really build an offense. And, for those that don't already know, Darren Waller, he retired today. So now.
Oh, did that finally happen? I didn't even get that alert. All right.
No, they didn't even have it.
To me, he retired 3 years ago, so he wasn't on my fantasy radar. So
just the one guy that said sources, he's officially retired, because I still haven't seen anything come from anybody that's actually
official. Okay.
I heard from a lot of my Giants people that he retired.
Interesting.
I still think that's exactly what's going to happen, but I haven't seen it from him or Schefter or somebody like you.
Right.
From Chef.
Was it Chef?
I
didn't see that officially yet either. But if it happened today, maybe I had a lot of stuff going on. But
the way that I'm viewing it,
he should.
Here.
Yeah.
He just lost his wife. Might as well just give up on the career.
I thought about that too. He has a lot going on in life right now. He was contemplating a lot of different things. So I'll double check my work, but I was told by a couple people that he was gonzo. So with all the things that are going on right now, you got a whole draft going on. Maybe it slipped. I don't know.
It'd be kind of slipped through. All right. Well, we'll try to get back focused here. We are going into starting round 12 out of 13. So only 2 more rounds here to go. Again, appreciate everybody that's in here with us drafting tonight. Appreciate you guys, you degenerates here drafting on April 26th. I love it. I love it.
Absolutely.
So we'll stick with wide receivers again. Good talk there about Neighbors going 3-1. Then we had Garrett Wilson go off the board. Then Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, and Brandon Ayuk. Anyone there that you felt was that a good order? Anyone a little too high, a little too low? What do you guys think about the rest of the wide receivers in this round? Let's go with Tycoon since your pick's coming up first.
Yeah, I would say Neighbors was a little high for me still.
Okay.
Until the quarterback situation is really figured out in New York.
Fair point.
I would have still taken Wilson, the Hill, and Olave all over him, probably Ayuk as well. But certainly still have him like right there around 10, 11. Otherwise, I'm good with this order. I would have taken Ayuk in front of Waddle, but that's just me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would have too.
Classic quickly on that.
No, I would have too. I would have taken him over Waddle. So hold on. The source that it's coming from is a sports betting, fantasy football, Sports Illustrated person. He was an alum, worked there. I know that they folded.
It's like semi-validated.
It's semi-validated.
He's not a nobody. It's not just a random account on Twitter, right?
No, and I mean
Okay.
he's got nine. Well, I can't really say that because guys like Wesley freaking
Steinberg.
I freaking hate him more than anything in
Yeah.
the world.
That account is horrible.
Yeah, he's just
And check the comment.
do not put yourself as an insider. Anyway,
There you go.
but no, I mean his name's Bill Enright. I don't know him, but it says that he's SI fantasy betting, all that stuff. So, I mean, that's where I see it coming from. A lot of people are saying that it's clickbait, so maybe, who knows? But
All right. We'll see. It's already enough time we dedicated to not only a tight end, but Darren Waller of all people.
Yeah, fair.
Too much airtime already. So we'll scratch that. Dimboy said, do you guys read comments? We just read Ethan's comment about Neighbors. That's what started this whole last conversation.
He's talking about with Chubb.
Well, I was going to wait till we got to the ninth round. I'm trying to, we try to put it with the show. But we got you, Dim Boys. And then we got golf. So we're, when you write a question that involves a guy, we like to bring it up when
I brought up all of them.
Oh, okay. So there we go. He said he wanted to read it though, and bringing it up is different than just reading it. So there we go. Hey, what's up, Martin?
Hey, we got Martin.
What's up, brother? How's it going, man? Hey, make sure you guys go check out Dynasty Pylon, man. They've been dropping everything over there for all individual players, all the rookies so far. I've been seeing their, I got their notifications turned on. They've been dropping some great videos every week or every day, with the different players, individual videos. So make sure you want that going on there. Make sure you guys go check them out. So there you go. He said, you just give me, I know, man. We know. You're the OG. Of course we know. So we covered third round wide receivers. There was only one running back taken in the third, which was Jonathan Taylor. To you, Classic Mike, we talked about that already.
Yep.
We did have a series of quarterbacks go off the board. You had Dak Prescott, who's kind of getting up there in age now. One of the elder statesmen at the quarterback position, going 3-4. You had Tua right behind him at 3-6. Then Jaden Daniels at the 3-7, followed by Jared Goff at the 3-9. Which Dim Boys did say about Goff. He said he definitely lets you down whenever he plays on the road. So he's basically a home stadium player there, or outdoors. I think was the more important thing. That was always kind of been the running joke about Jared Goffel, as I used to call him. But he had a decent year last year, and I actually had him on my Scott Fish team and all that. So I've come around a little bit on Jared Goff. Although they're talking about not extending him too much at all. But quickly here, what do you guys think about Prescott to Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff here in the third in the Superflex Dynasty startup?
I think that's the order, maybe Tua above Prescott, but over that, I like it overall. I mean, Daniels will still have to figure out. So for me, Daniels should be at the end of that. But I mean, he's just younger, so I understand why. Right.
2 picks apart. And then we had our first tight end go off the board here in the third round. Sam Laporta, the tight end one, classic and I's guy from last year. We were all over him more so than Kincaid. But we took a couple shares of both guys. I think every league that Classic and I played in together, he had Sam Laporta in all of them except for one.
No, I had Laporta in all.
Oh, and all the ones you and I did. I had him on my I think what was I in 15 leagues last year, 16. I had him on, I think 3 of the 4 and
and
one championship team.
The 2 that I'm in with you, I had him in.
Yeah,
Because I had him in. I was in 7 leagues last year and had Laporta in every single one of them.
there we go.
High on Laporta.
Very nice. All right, so then we had round 5, or where we at? Round 4 go off the board. We had Drake London, Devontae Smith contract extension, DJ Moore now with Caleb and Odunze there, who went right after him. Then Michael Pittman, Nico Collins, and T. Higgins. As far as the wide receivers, we did have our 2 tight ends go off the board here in the 4th, Trey McBride and TJ Hawkinson. To Tycoon here at 4.8. Hawkinson a little early coming off that ACL, so I'd like to get your thoughts possibly on that. And just 1 quarterback with Kirk Cousins off the board here in the 4th, and then 1 running back in Josh Jacobs at the 4.11 to kind of round out the 2nd round here, or the 4th round here. So Tycoon, I want to get your thoughts on taking Hawkinson that early, coming off that ACL.
My least favorite pick, kind of a panic pick, frankly. I was hoping ETN would quite make it there, or if not, I was hoping Odunze would. Neither did, so didn't really love any of the receivers, like the next 3 or 4 that went going quite that early either. None of the quarterbacks. We already addressed the teardrop of running backs after ETN, so decided to say screw it with the ACL and go with Hawkinson anyways.
Okay.
I probably should have gone Andrews there instead, though, if I was going to go TE. But really, with where Pitts and Bowers fell, now I'm upset because those are great values.
That
in
was
the 6th, yeah.
I was very pleased to see both of them fall. And if I missed out on Pitts, I had Jake Ferguson in my sights. He was my next.
Who went a couple rounds later in the 8th there. Classic. Did your heart get broken when Dem Boys sniped Collins right in front of you there?
You want to know something funny? It did. It hurt my soul. But it made me think. And Ethan, thanks for showing up. We really appreciate you having here. Anytime
appreciate you.
So thanks.
Sweet mock, Ethan.
We'll be back on Monday, man. We'll break it all the way down on Monday.
Yes, sir.
Team by team. We're just kind of going round by round here.
But honestly, I was a little upset, but it made me focus to go to quarterback at that point, and see what came around that turn. A lot of good options that were available. I was very upset.
Very nice. Anything you want to comment on here in the 4th, Tycoon? Pretty standard.
Yeah, no big surprises in the 4th for me.
Yeah. Okay.
So nothing worth.
Perfect. Well, we'll move on to the 5th then. So we have Tank Dell coming off that broken, what was it, tibia, some part of his leg there. Shouldn't be too bad. They expect him to be ready for the start of the season. So Tank Dell 5-1. Then you get Drake May, Stephon Diggs, Devon Achane, Deshaun Watson, Mark Andrews, Kincaid, McCarthy, Pickens, Saquon Barkley, all the way down here at 5'10". Then you get Kyron, who I think is pretty much a drop. I think maybe that has to do with the Quorum signing. And then Zay Flowers here to round out the 5th. Anything here stand out to you guys that you want to comment on? Or
to me, it was the Drake May pick. I don't hate it. I like it. I understand it. It's just I would have probably, if you're going by ranking wise, for me, Watson's probably a little higher. For me, May definitely has a year or 2 left. That behind. Maybe I don't see Drake May starting right away. Do you, Tycoon?
I do, because who the hell is going to start?
Jacoby Brissett. I
forgot they have Jacoby. Actually, Jacoby might. I take
that's my whole point.
Okay.
Jacoby has starting experience and has the ability to start right away.
And he came back to New England, right? Like, he? Didn't he originally come from New England, right? If I recall,
he was drafted
right.
So, I mean, honestly, it was. That's the only thing about him. He was the only pick that I saw out of this whole rookie. What was it? 6 out of 12. The top picks that were QBs, which is freaking incredible. I've never seen it before. He was one of the few that was. A lot of people kept saying, give him a year, give him a year, give him a year. So I can see him as being the one guy that can kind of, it might be a year or two. So if he was looking to be a little bit more like right now, then, I get it. Or sorry, I would have went with like Watson. If you're looking to kind of hold back a little bit and like wait a couple of years, wait a year or two to win a championship, might be your guy. So
now with hindsight, and Dim Boys is just saying he was happy to be able to snipe you there. Just I want to make sure he knows we're reading comments.
Well, that's why I went to Jigs.
Right. The thing I want to point out on this, obviously hindsight being 2020. And again, when you're doing a dynasty startup, you always kind of want to get those younger assets up higher. Doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be your starting lineup. So I'm sure RJ knew, maybe he didn't know, but what he ended up doing is taking Matt Stafford down here in the 9th. Which will allow May to kind of sit on the bench and not be that immediate QB2 that he needs to be putting up fantasy points that first year. So he will be able to have that option to sit him, knowing he did, get Stafford later on here. So I think that was a smart thing there for him as well. Yeah. So again, just because you drafted this rookie quarterback this high, so to speak, doesn't mean he has to be your QB2. You still have those veterans down at the end that you can get and be your QB2. Right. Yeah, exactly. And the NFL draft kind of really mocked a Superflex draft this year. The actual real draft really started turning out more like fantasy football draft now. What are these GMs doing? They're playing too much fantasy, I think. But yeah.
We have a question from Fantasy Football Tavern. What's going on?
Oh, nice. Guys? That's Santos, man. Shout out to Fantasy Football Tavern, man.
So he goes, if HAN doesn't bust to some degree, feels pretty nice in the 5th versus like Gibbs in the 2nd. Risk makes him fall, but doesn't mean bad things will happen. I like the upside a lot. I don't mind that. It's for me having him as my running back 1. I just don't feel comfortable with him. Achane is one guy that I'm very questionable about. I love his ability. He did fantastic things. It's just he's slightly undersized, and he spent
a lot of the year hurt.
He did. So,
but when he was on, man.
and that's the hard part about him. He's too boomer bust for me to want to be my running back 1. If
doesn't fit your classic mold there.
Well, no, it doesn't. I want a guy that's consistent. I want a guy that's going to be handed the ball more than just actually handed the ball. He's got to be.
But if a guy can score on 1 carry and score on a 60-yard touchdown, do you really need him to get the ball 5 more times to get those 60 yards and a touchdown?
True, but if he gets,
you might though. Yes, actually, yes. You still have to have the ball to have the chance to take it 60 yards for a touchdown.
But he has to be able to do that. I would rather
have my player, even if he's built in that mold, to have 15 chances at that a game instead of 9.
Right. Totally. I totally get it. And then obviously Raheem Mostert did re-sign, so he will be there again. Yeah. So, probably expect a lot of the same, out of that backfield. And again, even though Mostert's older, dude was hurt for the first 3 years of his life. So he doesn't really have that many carries on him. So, and he's still fast as shit. So, he's still good. So he's not like every other, what is he, 31, I think Mostert is? He probably didn't even get drafted in this draft.
No, he did.
He did. Okay, way down here in the 11th.
I think
he's 32. Damn, dude's old as shit.
I think he's
in football years.
I think he's more of a value there. Just saying.
Oh man, we're all old here.
For me, I would have gone probably Barkley or Carwin, just because of the fact they're a little bit. I mean, I know that Carwin was out for 4 weeks during last season, but he was productive for the rest of the year. But they're consistent, and you can make all the arguments you want about Barkley with him being quote unquote injury prone. All his were major injuries, but
right. Yeah. So good question, Fantasy Football Tavern. Make sure, drop that link to your channel in here. Same thing with you, Martin. Make sure you drop that channel in here, guys. Go support these guys, man. Go subscribe to their channels. Help them out. Friends that Get Right Fantasy here, man. We love pumping people up, and you'll see Martin. And hopefully we'll get these guys on the show here as well too. So go ahead.
We have Martin in the chat. I need to know: were you as pissed off about Penix
Yes, the
as
Falcons.
everybody. I need to know because
A resident Falcons fan. We
he's
need the
our one
perspective.
Falcons fan. I need somebody. I've seen so many memes, so many different things on Twitter today from different reactions. We saw the Kyle Borgogan for the fantasy footballers. He ended up, they recorded it and they're just jumping on him. Like, how did you feel when you had that pick? Like, I want to just have some idea. Even if it's
From a Falcons fan insight, we need to know. Type it up. We'll get to it when he drops it there in the chat.
While Martin is considering that answer, I would say the one thing that did stand out here in this round is that Kyron Williams still did go in the 5th round to me after Blake Corum was drafted tonight.
Agreed.
To me, that's an incredible obstacle, and I don't want to say a death knell for Kyron, but I mean, McVay likes to feed one guy.
Yes.
Right.
And I think that guy is now going to be Blake Corum.
Yeah. Now, my other thought is...
See, appreciate that, Dim Boys. You the man.
Yeah.
That's why we have these ambassadors here in Dynasty Pylon. There we go. We got you. See?
My other thought from the H-N thing, I like White a lot more. Like, I have White a lot higher than a lot of people. And to have him as my running back 1, I would have felt a lot better about than I would be for a guy like H-N.
Yeah, and he did go next in the next round there. Rashad White, followed by Ken Walker and Zaya Pacheco.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually have Pacheco ahead of both Walker, White, and Kyron, in my opinion. I find myself drafting a lot of Pacheco this year so far in my mocks, just for whatever reason, the value I'm getting on him.
I love Pacheco.
In my wide receiver builds, like I end up with him a lot as my wide running back 1.
Yeah.
Kind of in my 0 RB builds, 3 wide receiver. Like it's a little tough. Like it's not great, but I think this kind of the new age of fantasy football. You got to kind of be comfortable with someone like that if you're not getting like a McCaffrey or someone like that. So we'll see what ends up happening there. So we good to wrap out 5 and kind of get into 10 like I was talking about here.
Yeah, but
here we go.
He said it was a reach. They could have dropped and still get him. I think what they thought in perspective, maybe they thought the Vikings would snag their guy. No, see, that's the thing that I don't understand. They've been very.
Oh, it's been JJ McCarthy like all day.
That's my whole point. Yeah. It's been McCarthy. Like, if you guys thought that for some reason they were going to go Penix, you were stupid. Like, your organization needs some work. You know what I mean? Like, you got it.
Only so much room to drop down, though. I don't think he would have made it past the Raiders.
No.
So I mean, he really had to have him. Like, but
you just got to go get your guy.
Have a first-round quarterback. Why?
Right.
Why is your guy a quarterback?
Agreed.
That's the real.
That's the question, right? It's not so much the guy; it's the position more than anything. When you just sign Kirk Cousins,
man, if you were the Bears and lucked into the future first that you traded for being the 101, and you want to take Caleb Williams, great. Right. That makes. But
they already had traded Justin.
That's different.
They traded Justin Fields well before the draft, though. Like they didn't still have him on the roster and then pick him and then try to decide what to do.
When Lamar Jackson was available, had no interest, but then G'd up Kirk and then drafted a first-round quarterback. Like just outrageous practices. It's
and that goes back to what Martin was saying. He's just saying some of these picks are just wild, man. It's been a wild draft, man. A wild draft. So good stuff.
Just the thought process, the way they go about football operations as a whole, not just the draft.
Absolutely. All right. So let's do this. So we'll roll into round 6. We kind of talked about the running backs already. Rashad White, Ken Walker, Isaiah Pacheco. Anything you guys want to add on that, or are we cool to move on to wide receivers?
I mean, like I said, I see it the way that it finished: White, Walker, and Pacheco. In my order, I love Pacheco.
Yeah, I'd probably go Pacheco, White, Walker.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, and honestly, I would have Pacheco.
That might even be a little better.
I would have Pacheco in front of Walker.
Yes.
That would be my only change, but I like White a lot better.
Okay,
I think I like his situation a little bit more. But yeah, like what Martin said, I have no clue what they were thinking, but yeah, he's definitely an upgrade to Desmond Ridder. So I guess that's the best thing to do.
He did say basically in a nutshell, he'll take him over Desmond. So when it comes to that, it's better than Desmond Ridder. So there we go. Oh,
I've been sending reports up this entire time just for these teams to ignore what Scott's. Yeah, completely agree.
for sure, for sure. All right, so so let's get into the wide receivers here. You had DK Metcalf, the first wide receiver to go off the board here in the sixth. DK is 26 years old, or years young still.
Yeah,
Kind of just probably coming into his peak. Obviously, kind of Lockett's starting to maybe fall off. Maybe we see a rise of JSN.
Yep.
I'm still a big Metcalf fan for whatever reason. Still just love those, 6'4", 235-pound wide receivers, like, as our boys
rare.
over.
It's rare.
Yeah, exactly. So, our boys over at the Filthy Fantasy Football Show, as they would say, they're big chocolate men.
Yeah.
I kind of have a thing for him as well.
Me too.
So DK Metcalf off the board, followed by Debo, then JSN, and then Jordan Addison here. So any thoughts on that? Tycoon, we'll go with you first. What do you think about that order? Metcalf, Samuel, JSN, Addison in the sixth.
Metcalf going off the board first amongst that group for me is, for a guy that's finished as a wide receiver one once in his career,
Right.
I would rather take JSN or Addison and take a chance with the younger guys here. I do think once Lockett is out of the picture, JSN ultimately becomes the wide receiver one in Seattle over Metcalf.
Ooh.
And Debo, I would love to say Debo in front of him, but just injuries prevent me from saying so. And while I do believe he'll remain a 49er for 2024, I'm very uncertain after that.
Yeah.
So long
And just the wear and tear he takes anyway, too, in a dynasty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if this truly
Style
is
of
his last
play.
year as a Niner, and Kyle knows that, he's going to use the hell out
Right.
of him. This guy's gonna
Absolutely.
get beat up. So
Absolutely.
probably I would go JSN, Addison, Metcalf, Debo.
Pump those younger guys up ahead of them. I could see that. Really liked Addison last year, as I'm sure you guys remember. We all knew with Thielen leaving, there's going to be a ton of targets to vacate, and let alone Justin Jefferson ended up getting hurt. And he kind of stepped in. We saw what would happen if he were a wide receiver one.
Yeah.
Kind of almost like a T. Higgins, Jamar Chase type situation that could have, unfold there. We'll see what happens, of course, with JJ McCarthy, but he definitely has some weapons to throw to there in that offense, of course, with TJ Hawkinson that we talked about earlier. So again, we'll see what this Minnesota offense is going to look like this year. Should be interesting. So should have some fantasy relevant guys. So and then we have two tight ends come off the board, Bowers and Pitts. Bowers ahead of Pitts. We all know what happens with rookie quarterbacks here. Dem boys took him as well, and then classic, you took Pitts.
Tight ends early.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. I like what you did, though, getting Njoku down here in the 12th. And, of course, if it was Dynasty, we'd be doing probably seven, more rounds at least minimum. So it's kind of hard. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do that. So you can definitely get some other guys, later. Again, you want to get those higher assets, guys that have that potential kind of earlier on.
Yeah.
And then you can still fill out your roster with guys, down later when it comes to Dynasty builds versus redraft. So, again, just kind of keep that in mind. And then we did have three quarterbacks go off the board here in this round. We had Bryce Young go, followed by Baker Mayfield, and then Will Levis. Any thoughts on that?
I probably would have done Baker, Young, Levis if you want to put them in that order. But yeah, I mean,
I think I put Young at the end of that group. I'd probably go Baker, Levis, Young. Maybe if you want to put Levis ahead just because he's a little younger and has that cannon for an arm. Just not quite sure the weapons over there.
Not. Levis, no. Oh God.
Okay, yeah, I just had to put it out there maybe for some of the Levis fans. I just had to put it out there. But yeah, honestly, I would go Levis maybe over Bryce, but yeah, it's getting tough at quarterback at this point.
I think that Bryce has an opportunity to do well this year. They're trying to get him what he needs. Having Deontay with Adam Thielen and with Mingo, they just got legit. Like they're trying to give him weapons to help.
Yeah.
Honestly, to be fair, I thought the two teams that did very well in these the two teams that have been doing very well are Carolina and the Bears in the NFL draft. They're looking for what they need. They're trying to get assets that can work out. Jonathan Brooks is a great, really good running back that I think could do well moving forward. will he be ready for training camp? They're saying he is. So they can ease him in. They don't have to use him right now. Legit, I think he's for me, he's the prototypical wide receiver, which I like. He's the Debo size guy that can run and do all the, run the routes that you want in that type of system. So for me, they got a really good core group of wide receivers. They have they probably could have gone a tight end maybe. But at the end of the day, Tommy Tremble's young. He's still able to be a part of that particular offense. And then they're going to build the line. So I think they're doing a lot, and they have a very underrated defense. So I think they have the pieces there. I just think they just got to make it all work together. And I think Young learned a lot this year. So we'll see. So for me, Young is more the second. I think Mayfield has better weapons, better, offense in general, defense, the whole deal. He's a little older, but I still like, how he did this last year. I mean, what was he? He was, didn't he finish like QB like 7 or something? 10?
Who?
Baker. He was 10. Yeah, he finished QB 10 this year.
Yeah.
I mean, he played very well this year, and I see him having a decent future there. Didn't he sign an extension or something?
Yeah, 3-year deal, I think.
Yeah. So I mean,
3-year, $100 million after making $4.6 million last year. Turn that into $100 million. So not bad, Baker. Not bad.
I like that a little more.
That'll do.
A little bit that he's there. Levis, like I said, I'm not sold on him. I love his arm. I love his, enthusiasm maybe, but I don't like
it. It's called Swagger Classic.
Yeah.
It's called Swag.
Yeah. When you put mayo in your coffee, we'll talk. But
there we go.
It's one of those things where I see them trying to do something, but they give him Calvin Ridley, they get Burks back. They have, Hops in there or Nuke there. So, I mean, they have the opportunity to do well, but I don't see it yet. They need to build that line up. That line is just Swiss cheese.
Yeah. Offensive line is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So for me, that's why.
Man, they dropped so far too. They went from having such a good line to just
they were the number one line.
Yeah.
Like
just a few years ago. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that round, we're only going to do like 2 more rounds here, guys, and then it kind of just starts to get more like vets and guys we're not sure of, but
we should at least get to the 9th round because I want to bring up Denver.
Oh, that's fair. Question. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go through the 9th there. So let's round it out here. So Pacheco and then Cook went on the corner.
Oh, I love it.
I think didn't somebody write a comment about that? Oh, there it goes. Yeah, from the Santos from the Tavern. Pacheco Cook at the turn is living the dream. And a 0 RB start. So yeah.
Was so upset that happened because I wanted Cook right here.
That was tremendous. That was
great.
Great draft.
Yeah, well done. I think that was Kuda. Yeah, Kuda, however you say it. But yeah, so that was him. So well done there. And I've seen that combo a lot on several mocks that I've done. I keep seeing that Pacheco Cook combo. I've done it myself in those 0 RB builds. So to me, if I can walk out with that combo in our 0 RB build in a real draft here, I think I'll be happy, at least with the potential there. We'll see what actually happens. But right out of the gate, it feels nice to get that type of value in the 6th and 7th. Yeah. So then we have, again, James Cook. We'll stick with running back here. 4 of them go in a row here in the 7th. James Cook, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, and Tony Pollard. And then David Montgomery finishes off the 7th there at the 7-12. So what do you think about these 5 running backs going off the board here, Tycoon, between the 5? Go ahead.
First part of the round is kind of just the last gasp at the younger side of RBs left. So trying not to get locked into guys that may only be one more viable year, at least, with any kind of certainty. That's what that looks like to me. And then Montgomery kind of is somewhere in between that younger end and starting to get into the aging vet category.
26 years old.
That order totally makes sense. And I know we're only talking about the running backs right now, but then the rest of the round is just veteran value. That's for the most part.
Right.
So take your pick.
And then Jaden Reed in there, who's one of my favorite picks. Yeah, or my baby Debo, as I call him. So, Classic, anything you want to add on the running backs there? Or
no, I was just upset losing, not getting Cook.
Cook.
And
Panic pick Najee or what?
It was Panic pick Najee.
Well done, Kuda. Well done. Well done.
I like Najee as a whole. Like he's on our my dynasty team in our dynasty league that we're all in.
The Get Right League.
In our Get Right League. I really enjoy, I do like Harris. So for me, it wasn't like a panic, but it was like I want to Cook over those two.
Right.
And then I like Williams a lot. It's just unfortunately his team is just
McLaughlin season. Let's go.
No. Williams is the guy. It's just my whole thing is that their line is trash. They haven't had it. They're not really doing anything to fix that. He is a very good runner. It's just they just didn't use him right, and I don't like what's happening there. So he's very young too. He's 24 years old. It would have been maybe my second choice if he was available, but I like Harris and Arthur Smith and all that. So
nice. Dim Boys was saying he was debating between Cook and Bowers, and he think he should have went Cook instead of Bowers. And I think you wish you would have done the same thing too instead of Pitts. So go get that guy, I guess, guys. Go get your guy. So
you guys know
I'm just gonna
hate him.
Right. I'm just gonna finish out the 7th. I'll let you guys do the 8th and 9th round because I do have to hit a hard out. The wifey called me, and she's the boss. So hey, those things happen. But I do glad to just to get it in real quick, man. Great talking football with you guys again. It feels like it's like riding a bike, man. Just getting on here and just talking football again. So again, just one of my favorite things to do. So let's finish off the 7th here. Like you said, we have the kind of vet value guys going off the board here. Devontae Adams, followed by Cooper Kupp, who've been past wide receiver 1 overalls in fantasy. See them going now in the 7th. Then you get Jaden Reed going here at the 7-7. And then you have Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, Mike Evans, who I probably would have taken maybe even ahead of all those guys, maybe except for Jaden Reed, to finish off the wide receivers in this round. And then just to add in there, we had Travis Kelce go here at 7-11, which is just absurd to see just Kelce down this far in any draft. But I guess that's the times we're in. I'm getting older. It's tough to see it. Only one quarterback off the board here in Aaron Rodgers. But I'll take your guys' thoughts off the air. Have a good one, and I'll be listening there. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for everyone coming out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for us, and I'll let you boys take it away.
Later,
we'll catch up later. Take care, guys. Ooh, let me not hit the end stream button. That would have been
don't
rough.
do that.
Pulled Dustin on us there. I almost pulled the Dustin. Yeah. All right, fellas. And again, appreciate all you guys. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Yeah.
Speaking of Dustin, the 49ers at the end of the first round drafted Dustin at wide receiver. It's truly incredible. I encourage you all to go look up photos of Ricky Pearsall
and Dustin
from last night and today, and then compare it. Go look at the photo of Dustin here in the intro of this video and tell me we didn't just draft Dustin.
That's just his pseudonym. His pseudoname's Dustin. It was Ricky. It was really Ricky this entire time on our podcast. That's why he had to drop off because he was getting ready for the NFL draft this last year. But that's funny, man. That's good stuff. So again, appreciate you guys, man. I'll pop out. Have a good show.
Well, not much. Honestly, I don't think there's much else to say there in regards to that 7th round. I think with the value guys there, it's just kind of take your pick of which guys you like for almost redraft purposes. As far as, you can make slightly younger arguments for like Kupp and Evans versus Adams, but in general, it's all kind of the same level there. It's preference.
Oh, for sure. I do think that Scary Terry has a good chance to, I wouldn't say quote unquote bounce back with Daniels this year, but he has an opportunity to do well. They're doing what they can to help the Commanders in one way or another, with Eckler, and they ended up Ben Sonic. I can't get his name right. They drafted him as well, the tight end.
Yes.
He's supposed to be incredible. So they're definitely trying to build pieces around to help to help Daniels. So I do think at this point, I like the order that it's in for the most part. Maybe Reed ahead of those guys just because of the age. But other than that, maybe Evans ahead of maybe Kupp, but that's about it. But overall, I liked what they did here. For the 8th and 9th round, I don't think we're going to go any farther than that. I'll bring up my Quinton Johnston pick in a minute. But in the next round we had Jake Ferguson go with George Kittle. Those are the only 2 tight ends that went in that round. Hey man, I like Jake Ferguson a lot. I think he's one of the best pieces for a particular dynasty startup. If you're looking for a later round tight end instead of going a little early, I think he's the best guy that you can go. And it's definitely a teardrop after him. Then you're getting into the little bit of the older productive guys. So for me, I really do like Jake Ferguson a lot. What about you?
I do too. And I think you're right. There's probably a teardrop. Although I think I'd probably have Njoku a bit higher than where he went compared to the T's that went after. But after that, I think that, there's a pretty big drop. So, no, I like Ferguson too, as far as if you're not going to select one of the, I guess, upper echelon T's, then, and you want to stay on the younger side, that's about as good as you can do, especially at that point in the draft. So,
completely agree.
And after that, you're just punting the position almost in general, which is also fine. A lot of people do that. But if you do want to lock in some level of, not always 100% consistent production because it is the tight end position, but where you're going to get for sure production at points, at a minimum, then you get Ferguson.
Understood. And, I just did a dynasty startup recently. It was tight end premium. I ended up punting on tight end a little bit too far to the point where my guy is Pat Ferguson.
Premium, a whole different story. Yeah.
Understood. But like in that type of system, I ended up punting it a little bit and I went a little too far. So sometimes you're trying to find that, glass slipper where it fits perfect. And Jake Ferguson is that kind of tier for me. If I end up, punting, I think he's the best guy.
And once you get around there, you're kind of playing Russian roulette with the position too.
Completely
like you said,
agree.
trying to find the glass slipper, which sometimes it's fun to do, but you're definitely doing it.
Exactly. And then at that point, you're pretty much trying to just, I ended up having to go with guys that I really had no clue what's going to happen, guys that are probably not on anybody else's board, and you're hoping that they pan out. Let's move right along. The next thing that I see here is Justin Fields. And this one is a pick to me that I'm a little bit like, why? You could have waited maybe, but how do you feel about it?
Yeah. I am legitimately surprised at it. Well, I do know that Dem Boys does like Fields, but
understood.
No, it's high for somebody to have no certainty when he'll be starting again, especially with other starters available, regardless of them being older vets guys like Stafford, Geno,
agreed,
and whatnot. But it's while I don't necessarily think he's that great of a real life quarterback, though, when he sees the field, I mean, he puts up fantasy points via the rushing production, so I can at least see that. And to not have a lot of faith in Russell Wilson, I can also see that. So, I mean, to some degree, I get it, but it's still just a little early for me.
Likewise, I do think that maybe 2 rounds later in the 10th might have been a better spot. He actually went very high in a lot of dynasty in the one startup that I did. I was very surprised with, but beyond that, it's one of those things at this point. Like I did a thing where I sent out a picture of Justin Fields and a quarterback that was with a question mark, and I asked people, and it had all their stats for the last, I think it was for the last 3 years. So I basically was comparing 3 years of a viable quarterback and the last 3 years of Justin Fields. And I asked people, who is this guy? And it was Russell Wilson. If you look at both of them, Russell had a better last 3 years. He's been doing well. He did well in Denver. He did well right at the end of the year. Well, he didn't do great at the end of the year with the Seahawks, but he still is productive and he still is doing well. So for me, I really want to like Fields, but it's so hard for me to get on board. He reminds me too much of things like where he's just a constant runner. And as much as I understand that that's important for fantasy, it doesn't really work the way that I want it to. So anyway, at the end of that, let's go into the wide receivers real quick. Anyone that stands out here that you are a little bit unsure about or anything like that?
No, not really. They all kind of fell around where I would expect. It doesn't, even if Rice,
I was going to
faces some
say Rice.
disciplinary action, it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything major.
Okay.
Drew Davenport, I believe, is his name. Fantasy Football Legal Takes on
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
Guy is
I love Drew.
outstanding.
Favorite
But he pointed
guy.
out he's great. If you, whenever anybody faces a legal issue in the NFL, go check
Look to
what he's
Drew.
saying. But he noted something in the way that Schefter worded his report, that he may be facing a multi-game suspension, but didn't use words like extensive, lengthy, anything like that. So, I mean, 2 to 4 games is probably on the high end of what we're likely to see with Rice, is the vibe I'm getting. So, from a dynasty angle, I'm not knocking him down at all. Or wherever you have him ranked, this should not affect that, is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I agree.
So this order makes sense to me. I love Vlad McConkey going where he went.
I'm a little surprised that he fell.
I thought he might go a hair earlier, but
I thought he would be in the Pickens area, to be fair.
I didn't think he'd go that high.
I like him a little. Well, I like him.
I'm probably with you. I like him more than most. So.
Yeah. No, agreed. So, Fantasy Tavern says lad over. Who is that? Thomas was a great call for me. Thinking that lad is a little less talented NFL player. But better fantasy, particular in PPR. I agree. I think he's going to be something special.
I agree as well.
Yeah, and he couldn't agree more on the Fergie pick.
So, I got time.
No, understood. And
hey, that's true actually, but that's a whole different conversation.
The only thing that I wanted to bring up real quick in the next round is Nick Chubb. So, them boys asked before about Nick Chubb and why he's falling. We all know that he had a gruesome injury with the MCL, ACL. Thankfully, he needed only 2 surgeries to fix it. Everything looks okay. We just don't know the timeline. There is very little known about what's going on. They have not gone for a running back. There has not seen anything where they are trying to, solidify that particular position. So for me, it's a great value at this point. So hopefully that all works out, but that's why he's falling.
But yeah, 28 years old, coming off an extremely significant knee injury. It's just what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a very talented back, but we have to see what happens. So for him being the running back 3 for a team, not a horrible, pick. And then he gets speared a little bit later. So I do like it. I have Chubb in a bunch of leagues. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with him. So anyway, we're going to wrap this up. So thank you for everybody for being here. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for everybody in the chat that participated. Thank you for all those that were in the mock. So thank you. We really do appreciate it. We're going to have mocks every Friday night. So make sure you guys are available. We're going to send it out in our private sleeper channel. So make sure you check out the description below. Make sure you guys add yourself to that particular channel because we're always in there. Me, Tycoon, we have Rasta, we have everybody else that's a part of this particular channel is always in there to help you guys with anything that you need. So always make sure you guys check out the channel as well as follow us on Twitter. We have our Twitter handles right under here. I'm always trying to post as much as we can. We got them boys saying, glad we're back. Thanks, guys. We're going to be back for now. We're going to be on Fridays and Mondays. And then Tycoon on Wednesdays. And we're going to try to sprinkle a little bit of everything. So make sure you guys keep an eye out on those Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then Sunday when we get into the season. So make sure you guys check us out. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their night and a great part of their weekend. Make sure you also, of course, check out our sponsors as well with Underdog Fantasy, as well as TrophySmack.com. And we're going to have, I'm hoping soon that I have another sponsor that we can throw in here so that you guys can also find more awesome things because we're here to help you guys and get you guys some, great stuff as well. So make sure you guys check us out. Next week, we will be here. Same bat time, same bat channel, if you know where that reference is from. And other than that, Tycoon, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And so happy to have you. Just so happy to have you in this group. So thank you so much.
I know it was joining late last year in an official capacity, but it's nice to have this be the first.
Now this is your first season.
Like I'm really in. Yes,
yeah. So I'm really happy to have you. And then, yeah, so for Frank, for Dustin, for good old Rasta, good old Tycoon sitting right over there. I hope everyone has a great rest of your night. We will see you soon. Later. Peace.
Good luck to your teams in the draft.
Yeah, later, boys.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking often, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go